speech, which is, I remember it from, it was in the early 90s, mid-90s.
Yeah.
I remember it from back then, because you don't see a lot of Jewish themes or Jewish imagery on American television or American sci-fi television, for that matter. And it was an interesting blend between two Jewish myths that are very, very dominant in Western culture. First of all, the Golem myth, and then the Dibuk.
Yeah.
It's both. It's the Golem meets it obviously the Golem because it comes love, but because it's a vengeance by a love-torn woman whose betrothed has died, was killed. It's something of a Dibuk. What gave you the idea to write this episode, and didn't you get noticed that it was too Jewish?
It's yes on everything. Well, first of all, I had to wait till the 4th season of X-Files, and when I first joined X-Files, on the very first episode, I always knew that I wanted to do a Golem story, and by the way, so did it was pitched to me by 30 other Jewish writers. It wasn't like, there's only so many vampires and ghosts and aliens out there. And the Golem was a story that I had, I had studied quite a bit about and was interested in, certainly in college, and talking about, Kabbalah and Rabbi Luria and all that stuff. And so, but it was, no one ever had, in fact, David Duchovny's father, who was a poet, pitched me a story. And he actually ended up being very angry when I finally did it. It had no bearing on his, but again, everyone thinks they invented, but that's what happens sometimes. Everyone, but I had the good fortune of being the executive producer, and I was able to choose to do it. But I finally found a way in when it was a love story. I kind of found, it's a little bit heavy-handed when I look at it. I looked at it again not that long ago. I showed it to my 16-year-old son, and he'd never seen X-Files, and I started with the Golem. And the love story I really found was when I found a character situation or a set of characters, that always told me, okay, that was a green light to maybe try something. But I think many writers tried to sort of crack the Golem story, and by the 4th year, the show was successful enough that they couldn't use excuses like it's too Jewish, etc. And it was really, I'm very, very proud of the show, and I was very proud. I got to dedicate it to my grandmother, who I never met, who loved movies and Hollywood, and she lived in Brooklyn, and she used to clip articles from the trade magazines. Anyway, so it was a special episode to me.
One of the themes of the episode is that the Golem is in a way revenge for anti-Semitism.
Yeah,
it's something that you came across. Is it something that you felt growing up in America? Something that was
it's funny. I grew up on Long Island, which is, it was as good a place to be a Jew, I think, as any in America. But even then, I mean, obviously, I played sports, and I had many encounters and fights over the years. And I grew up in the wake of my parents. We went to Israel when I was young, and so I grew up very much in the wake of World War II, and I had half of my family were murdered. So it was something I grew up with, and absolutely was, and that's part of the myth too. Obviously, the rabbi created the Golem as a defender, as a superhero, as a Frankenstein, but all the Frankenstein themes of man playing God and modern Prometheus were part of it. But it was the love story that, to me, gave it the heart that he was murdered out of hate, the husband in that one, and the wife brought him back not out of vengeance but out of love, and he took his own revenge, and that's what the episode was.
I'll take a question from the audience. One of the questions is, when you write a show, do you know the ending